Hey, how's it going? Just got back from my first week on the road. Very interesting. Never been, I'm doing these videos just to kind of get a feel for other people who have never done this industry before. I've never, this is my first time in the truck driving industry because before this, I was active duty Air Force until today's the 6th. 5 days ago, I became a civilian again. Just retired after a little over 20 years. So anyway, Maverick Transportation, first week with the trainer in the truck. I think it went pretty well. We had a rough start because I had to drive from my house to the trainer, which is like 3 hours away. It's not too bad, but we were set to leave at 8 in the morning. So I got up at like 4. Not usually a big deal, but I had a restless night's sleep because, hey, I'm going to be starting to drive a truck the next day. So I had a difficult time falling asleep. So I didn't get as much sleep as I had hoped. So I was tired that first day, but he drove, so it wasn't that big of a deal. So this is how the week went, just so you understand. He drove for the first day and a half, and then after that, I drove for the rest of the week. To the shippers, to the consignees, wherever we were dropping off, through cities, small towns, rural roads, highways. I was doing it all. So I kind of made a pro and con list. Again, this is just my opinion on how this process worked for me. I kind of have a feeling this is the way it is for a majority of companies. I'm pretty sure that there are some companies out there that the training experience is far worse. Not saying my training experience here is bad. I'm just saying I think so far for me it's been really good. But I know that from the horror stories you hear from other people in other companies and their trucks that it's not always that good. So anyway, that's a positive spin. Let's see. What did I haul? I hauled slinkies or coiled rod. It's about coiled wire. It's about as thick as a pencil, but it was like 16 bundles of this stuff. So and the bundles weighed 3,000 pounds apiece, and you have to strap those with your straps. You don't use chains, and it's probably one of the more difficult loads in the sense that securement wise. Because every time you have to stop and check your load a lot, and every time you stop, you're going to get you're going to be able to get, you're going to have to tighten it down a whole lot more. You're like, where's all this slack coming from? But anyway, that's the way these bundles are. After that, we got shiny bar. You can't put chains on it because it's got its finished product, and they don't want to damage it anyway. So you have to use this super slick bar. You can only use cloth straps on. And a bulkhead. After that, I hauled square tubing. And then after that, the final load, which brought us home, was steel I-beams. So nothing but metal this week. I started out, first delivery was in Carthage, Missouri. Then we went, picked up near there. We picked up the shiny bar. I can't remember where it was. Oh, Fort Smith, Arkansas. And then we went to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. That was a heck of a long drive. And our next load was in this town south of Chicago. So we went from basically downtown Milwaukee through downtown Chicago on the highways anyway, and to south side of Chicago to drop it off. And I drove that, and that was an eye opener. Thank goodness I didn't have to shift through that crap. One plus side to driving an automatic. Cruise control and Jake brakes. Wow, it's an interesting experience driving through a big city. A lot of people say New York is tough, and I'm sure it is when you're doing those inner city streets. But holy crap! Anyway, after that we went from the south side of Chicago with the square tubing down to Blytheville, Arkansas. We seem to be back and forth between northern Illinois and Arkansas. This week anyway. Dropped off in Blytheville, Arkansas. Picked up our steel I-beams in the same place. And that's destined for Michigan, which we'll do on Monday. I started driving on day 2, like I said, and I drove in dry weather, which was great, wet. Yesterday it was pouring down rain, going through St. Louis. Oh, talk about white knuckler. It wasn't so bad that the rain, because I have a hot year sitting up in a truck and you have a nice high visibility of the road ahead of you, but there is so much water on the road that the cars would kick it up, and it was like it almost looked like a layer of fog on the car level. So ahead of me there were cars and I could see their headlights, but it was like they were masked by a big cloud of water vapor. So that made it difficult in the sense that, man, if anything was going to happen, if there was an emergency ahead of like 1 or 2 cars ahead of me, I couldn't see that. I tried to keep a pretty good following distance while maintaining proper speed so I didn't slow up traffic. But it was it makes you think. It did start to snow one day on the way down from northern Illinois as we were coming down from Michigan. And but we got out of that, and it ended up like in 40-something degree weather in Arkansas. So thank goodness for going south, huh? We're heading to Michigan on Monday, so I can only imagine. I'll have to check the weather heading out. It's going to be interesting. So pros and cons of, and this may not be particular to Maverick Transportation, but one thing I can say, their trucks, he drives, my trainer has a 2012. And just like the people in the yard said, he was like my orientation and training. They said, you'll end up, there's not a specific truck that's destined for me. This is not a company where they throw all the new people in the oldest equipment. It's whatever's available, they need drivers for, and they'll put you in it. So, and he said the same thing, my trainer, that I could end up in a 2015 easily, which has a few more sensors available than the older cars, even older trucks, even though the oldest truck they have is 2012. So I mean, you're talking about trucks that are only 2 years old. So anyway, the truck was nice, comfortable. The seat could use a little bit more padding, but I'm assuming that after 300,000 miles, that seat kind of gets worn out. And he even said, like, if I get into a truck and it feels like, hey, this thing's worn out, all I have to do is tell the people at the shop, and they'll put in a new seat, because he's done the same thing, my trainer anyway, that he got in, and he's like, hey, this seat needs to be changed because the padding's like worn out. And they do that, which is great. So having an automatic, tremendous stress reducer, especially in areas where there's high traffic and a lot of shifting would be required. Shifting and braking, that would, I can only imagine how tired my leg would be, shifting, braking, and starting again, and all that stop and go traffic, especially in Chicago. Whew. The Jake brake, I mean, these trucks are, they're nice, warm, and comfortable inside, nice and quiet, and cruise control driving, Jake braking down these small hills. It allows you to not be stressed about all the, I guess, typical shifting that you have to do. Now, and I know some people out there, they would prefer a standard shift. The thing with these automatic shifters is you can put it, there's an automatic and manual mode, so you can, I know I've heard of several drivers that they have these trucks, but they drive them set in manual. So any shift the truck's going to make, it's because they're making it and it's a paddle shifter. So you paddle up, and you shift up, you paddle down, and it shifts down. It's right next to your steering wheel. Usually I'd only engage the shifting down in automatic mode. When I'm coming to a stop, I paddle down and help it bring it to a stop with the Jake brake, especially when you're hauling 47,000 pounds of steel. It's insane. It's a new eye-opening experience for somebody new to truck driving to be in charge of, basically 80,000 pounds of rolling steel down the highway. And it puts a new perspective on drivers in non-truck drivers in the way that they don't realize how much they're putting their lives in danger by cutting off trucks If there's a gap, they go for it, and some people anyway. But there are a lot of drivers out there that are courteous and understand, hey, that's a big truck, and I don't want to get in front of it. So there are some people that aren't that stupid. Let's see. I'm trying not to go over 10 minutes, but I see I've already done that. Let's see. You're an independent person when you're driving your truck. You know, you're in charge of your own world. That's a pro. So if you like to be in charge of yourself while doing this stuff, it's great. But the con side is, for some people, this is you're doing this alone. So if you're not used to being alone, you're going to be alone in every sense of the word. Yeah, you can reach out on your Qualcomm or OmniTrax and ask for help or guidance on how to do something. They even have videos on how to secure most of the stuff that they deliver. There's help is only a phone call away to their training line. But it definitely gives me a new perspective on the life of a truck driver. The hours that I did this week, I mean, I was driving or I was sleeping. So I think truck drivers don't get paid enough for doing this job. After being in the military, and I did jobs where I was working 24 hours a day sometimes, and I felt tired. But doing this, luckily I got into a schedule right away where I wasn't tired while I was driving, which was great because I hate to feel tired when I'm driving. But anyway, being paid to drive a truck is one thing, but being paid to drive and live in your truck away from your family a week at a time, yeah, truck drivers don't get paid enough to be requested to make that kind of sacrifice for their family. But it's a good, I mean, it's a pro too, in the sense that it is a fair amount of money for a young person who's 21, may not have any particular set of skills, or higher education to fulfill a specific professional role. To be able to get out and be making $800 to $1,000 a week as a 21-year-old, hey, that's great. And in 3 years, you max out on pay. Well, not max out, but I mean, you reach that top tier to start getting regular pay raises. And you're basically, with their pay for performance at Maverick, you're getting over 50 cents a mile. So if you're driving 2,000 miles a week, you're getting over $1,000. If you're 2,000 miles a week, you're getting over $1,000. And that's not even including your TARP pay and all the other ancillary pays that they're giving. So let's see. Anything else I wanted to talk about? I mean, at first, in orientation, you know, they tell you how stressful it is at orientation. You're a really high level because they're giving you all this new information, and it tapers down as you get used to that. But then you go into the training phase in the barn, where they're teaching how all this new securement methods for the different type of products that they haul. And the stress level, bam, way up top again. But that tapers off because once you get the hang of how that stuff is done and you're just doing it over and over again repetitively to learn it, the stress level kind of goes away. I hit new stress levels when I was driving. Not so much in driving the truck, because that's fairly simple. I've been, if you've been driving most of your life, yeah, it's somewhat similar. But you're having to take into account messaging notifications that you have to make, load checks, all the Qualcomm messages like pre-tripping, post-trip, damage found, all that stuff that you have to do to communicate back and forth. You have to remember that. You also have to know where you're going and how you're going to get there in an effective and efficient manner, so you're not wasting miles and costing yourself money, in the sense that you lose that pay for performance if you go over certain miles out of route. That's a whole nother topic. But anyway, so far my experience this week, I would say, is good with Maverick Transportation training, first week in the truck. Next week is the second week, and I can only assume I'll be taking on more responsibility. This week I kind of just drove, and he would ask me questions on how I would generally go as far as a trip plan. But I have a feeling this next week I'm going to be doing active trip planning. It's like exactly how we're going to go, and I will be doing the route. And luckily they have macros built in for actual directions at the shipper or at the consignee, so I know exactly how they suggest to get in there. So you don't end up making a wrong turn and thinking, where in the heck am I? How am I going to get turned around to go to where I need to go? So that's the stress. I think that's the biggest stress level for me, is making sure I'm not missing turns when I'm getting close to where I need to drop off or pick up. Because when you, I can only imagine the stress level I'll put upon myself for making that mistake and trying to figure out, how do I get turned around legally on roads that are authorized for big trucks. Because some of these places we pull into, there was one place where my GPS, I could see where we were dropping off our slinky load, but my GPS, the GPS unit that he had, was telling me to turn left to go kind of back around this place. But when you look at the road that the Rand McNally trucking GPS said, it said take a left, which went over this bridge, and right on the bridge was a sign that said 10-ton limit. I'm like, why is it trying to route me over? And he curses at his GPS all the time because it's wrong just about every time. And it seems like it's a fairly new GPS, just maybe it hasn't been updated, I don't know, but it's a Rand McNally, and theirs have only been out for the last few years from my understanding. So it makes you aware that you can't just fully depend on your GPS. You've got to be knowing where you're going to be turning, and relying on your maps, your paper maps. And luckily I've got a smartphone, so I'm zooming in and checking out these roads on how I'm going to get there. So I may actually slow down our process a little bit because, hey, I'm new to this stuff. And he understands that, and I think all the other trainers do too, that, hey, we're just getting the hang of this whole full trip planning thing. So, week 1. It was good, but man, I was thinking, is this the life I want to live? Is this what I want to do as a second career? It makes you think, because it's a different lifestyle, and it's not for everybody. So I'm in that phase where, hey, is this the lifestyle I want? Luckily, I consider myself blessed and fortunate. I served a full career in the Air Force, and I get retirement. So it opens up my options as to, I can really work on picking on what I want to do. And right now I'm just checking out to see if trucking is what I want to do. So far, I'm on the fence. But as the stress level comes down, I'm sure I'll like it even more, because it's nice in some aspects, and in other aspects are tough. I mean, that's the same way it is with any job. The key, I think, in life is trying to find the job you love and then doing it, because if you're doing what you like, the pay is secondary, at least for me anyway. Then it's not even really like a job if you're doing what you love. Anyway, I'm stretching this thing out way too long. Next week, I'll try to keep it shorter, because you can hear how the things are going. If you have any questions, put it in the comments or send me a message. Whenever there's a comment left, I get an email, so just put it in the comments. If you've watched this video this entire length, go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe, and if you need to, you can go to my YouTube page. You click on the little gear icon, and you can actually set it up to where you get an email message when I drop a new video. So if you're interested in Maverick Transportation and how this process works, that's the real reason I'm doing these videos. So like and subscribe to keep updated. That's the best way I know how, anyway. All right. Till next week, we'll see what happens.